Hey gamers, what's up? Muzz from L1 Games with you once again to answer a question that I get more frequently, I think, than any other question. And that question is, what do I do when I'm ready to get started? Like, what's the first thing I should do? And I think it's important to know this. So I thought I'd share with you what I've done and how I've done it. And of course, I think the first thing you have to do is file your company name with the federal government and get your vendor's license and get your federal EIN number. And we'll get into what all that is and how you do it and what you should do and how you should do it. So the first thing is the vendor's license. You need to file your company. And I recommend for someone just starting off a LLC. Now an LLC is a limited liability company, and it offers you the incentives, like the tax incentives and the protections of a corporation for a sole proprietorship or for a partnership. You can learn more about this if you jump on like Wikipedia and check it out. It'll give you all the facts that you need to know, but basically it just gives you the protection of a corporation without being a corporation. And it also files you with the government and allows you then to apply for a federal EIN number or a federal identification number. That's the number that you use when you're paying your taxes or when you're starting accounts with distributors. So it's really important that you have your vendor's license and your tax ID number for a multitude of reasons. You can't do business without doing this. If you're not paying your state sales tax, the government's not going to have it. Eventually, they're going to come to you, they're going to audit you, and then they're going to fine you. So the first thing you want to do is have all that stuff together. Now, the first thing I did when I started my first business was I went downtown and I filed all the paperwork in person and everything. That's the hard way to do it. You do not have to do it that way. Since then, when we started the new CTS LLC and when we started Nerdco, we did it a much easier way. We went down to Chase, which is where I do all my banking. So by default, it was Chase. I'm not saying it has to be Chase. I'm sure other banks do it as well. And you sit down at the desk, you talk to one of the bankers, and you tell them you want to start a business account. You definitely want to have a business account because you want to separate your personal funds from the business funds. You don't want that stuff mixing. And you tell the banker you want a business account and you need to file for your vendor's license. So they will do the footwork for you. You can sit right there and file that paperwork at the bank. And it's so much easier than going and doing it in person. Now here in Ohio, it costs about $125. So you do that, that's all your processing and your paperwork and everything. The bank does not charge you extra to do it. It's what you would pay if you went down and did it all yourself. So it's totally worth doing it the easy way. You'll fill out that paperwork on the day. They won't be able to open your business account until you have this stuff squared away. You have to have your EIN and your vendor's license before you can open your account. But the bank is willing to help you do it because they want your business. So you fill out all that paperwork, you get it ready to go, you have your company name, everything squared away, and they'll call you in a few days and say everything's been approved, you can get your vendor's license, and you go back to the bank. I went back and sat down again with the banker, and we called the IRS from there to get my EIN number. Now this, once you have your vendor's license, you call the IRS, and they'll give you this number. And once you have your vendor's license number, your federal EIN number, you can then really actually start to do the things you need to do. Now the importance of the federal identification number is that no distributor is going to deal with you if you don't have one. You have to have a vendor's license, you have to have a federal EIN if you want to open up an account with any distributor. So once you have those things, you can set up, I have Jinx accounts, New World, BioWorld, all these different accounts, Yobo, Hyperkin, and once you have those, you can then buy things at wholesale price that you can then mark up to the manufacturer's suggested retail price and sell at your retail location. And that's also going to be a factor, your retail location. Are you doing business out of your home and selling stuff online, or are you doing a brick and mortar store? A lot of distributors give different prices to people who sell brick and mortar and who sell online. Their prices for online retailers are higher. Some don't even do business with online retailers because they don't want online retailers undercutting the people with physical locations. So that's something to consider also. I think Jinx is one that does that for sure, and I know there are others. And then when you start making sales, you're going to go, here in Ohio, we have the Ohio Business Gateway. It's an online site where you go in, you register an account, and that's where you pay your state sales tax. You have to pay your state sales tax on every sale you make out of the store. You don't pay taxes for the stuff you bring in, the stuff you buy. You pay taxes on the stuff you sell. Well, actually, in fact, the customer pays the taxes. So here in Ohio, taxes are 7.5%. So every sale I make, say I sell something for $4.99, they pay $5.36 for it. That extra money goes to the government. That's not my money. And you'll make those state sales tax payments right out of your business account. And this is another reason you don't want to mix those accounts, because you're going to be making a lot of payments to distributors, to the government, and so on. And you can't mark your items for sale as tax included. It's actually against the law. So what you have to do is you have to mark it at $4.99, and then you have to add that additional whatever it is where you live. It's different in a lot of different places, but here in Ohio, like I said, it's 7.5. So I have to add that 7.5% to the $4.99 and then take the money from the customer. That's the way it has to be. A little story I like to tell people is when I was back at the flea market, this actually happened. I used to do the tax included. So I sold everything for like $5, $10, $15, whatever. And one day some people walked in, it was a man and a woman, and they said, "Oh, is this all like tax included?" And I said, "Yep, no problem." You know, I was paying my state sales tax. What I was doing at the end of the month was just figuring out what the 7.5% was and just paying it, you know. And I didn't make huge sales at the flea market. It wasn't a huge deal, so it was only a little bit of money every month, and I did it. Actually, in fact, I think I was paying every 3 months when I was at the flea market. It was a long time ago. I didn't even remember that. Now I pay monthly. Back then I paid every 3 months. So they said, "Is everything included, the tax and everything?" I said, "Yeah, yeah." And they whipped out the badges. They were from the IRS. And I immediately went out and bought a register. They gave me a warning, and they actually came back 30 days later. They walked back through the flea market, and they came over and talked to me for a little bit, and I had my register set up and everything, and I was doing it. I repriced everything in the store to, you know, $4.99 and $9.99, and yeah, that's just something you have to do. You do not want to get caught up in trying to cheat the government or anything. You don't want to get audited. You don't want to get fined. That's just trouble that you don't need. It's stress you don't need. So you want to go about it the right way. And then once you have all of that together, you're ready to go. That's really when you're ready to start doing business. You then, of course, want to have your starting inventory and everything. I, of course, when I moved into my first location, already had a beginning inventory, everything I had from the flea market. But I did want to start ordering things. So I immediately got online and started looking for distributors of video games. And really, it was as easy as a Google search. At the time, I was buying new games. When I first started, I wanted to sell all the newest titles. And I needed to find distributors that did that, and I found a few of them, and I set up accounts, and eventually I shifted to just strictly used games because there's just more of a profit in it. And a $60 title was costing me $52, and then I had to have it shipped, and they would never ship them to me before the street date, so I would get them the day of release, and that was just such a colossal pain, and the markup was so poor on them. And I just decided eventually one day that I wanted to go strictly used games. But with all the Retron consoles and everything, I still sell the new consoles, and I sell new peripherals, and I sell new cables and all that stuff. And then all the miscellaneous merchandise that I sell, I started looking into accounts with, you know, BioWorld merch, for example, and buying the belt buckles and wallets and keychains and necklaces and all that stuff. And it's offered me the opportunity to kind of diversify my inventory and reach out to a bigger demographic of people, especially here in the mall. And you'll find when you get your location that you'll shop, when you shop for your store, for a certain kind of clientele, and that just depends on where you are and what you're selling. I think it's going to be different depending on your location and the people you're selling to. I do a lot of this stuff in the mall because I get a lot of walk-by traffic. So the first step of getting to that point, of course, is having your vendor's license and your federal EIN number. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. If you do have any questions for me, by all means, leave a message and let me know. I'm always glad to help out, and I'm always glad to answer questions. And if your question is really good, I might even make a whole video dedicated to it. And that's it for now. So I want to thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it. I'm trying to get to that 15,000 subscriber mark, so please do share my videos if you like them. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the bell icon, and you'll get updated when I put out new content. And you can follow me on Twitter at L1Games. So I've got to go get to work. I will see you all soon. Thanks so much for watching. Catch you later.